Hello friends, welcome back to Rose Tarot and Astrology. I am your host Mel Rose, and this is the two-card reading for Sunday, January 21, 2024. The sun is in Aquarius and the moon is in Gemini. Pluto just moved on into Aquarius yesterday, which is a really big deal. But what I'm thinking about right now is that a couple of days ago we had sun in Capricorn and moon in Taurus. Was very grounded, earthy vibe. And that can feel very secure, and it can feel as though, we're taking care of business, and that's a good thing. But after a certain amount of time, when you hang out in that earthen vibe, it gets a little, it can get a little stagnant, feeling a little bit stuck. And so it's nice today to have these air signs, Aquarius and Gemini, dominating our skies, sort of brightening our minds and opening us up, making us curious, wanting to learn new things, share our ideas, sing, dance, collaborate, listen to other people, not just for, our collective uplift, which is always the goal, but also just for our joy and delight, because, it's totally valid just to do things because you enjoy them. And I so enjoy being here right now. If you want to know more about the astrology, please check out my Astrology Today video. It's right next to this one on this channel. In fact, if you like this video, you can subscribe to the channel and then click for notifications. And that way you'll know every time I post fresh daily astrology and tarot content like I do. And as always, my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really happy that you're here. Okay, what's coming in and what's going out? What are we calling in and what are we releasing? What's coming in? Well, that's interesting. The Ace of Wands is in reverse. So, Ace of Wands is usually about initiative. It's a big thumbs up. It's a big go for it. And I was just saying that I think, like the vibe in the air, the sort of air sign dominated sky right now is feeling a lot more light and collaborative. Like we can, think, plan, and collaborate. But so I see how this relates because, with the wands, it's about taking action. It's about taking initiative. It's about making a big start on something. Okay. And today might just not be the day for taking the actions and making the big start. Now we are in a waxing gibbous moon. So it is time to be taking action to culminate the goals that we set for ourselves. But we are in a moon in Gemini as well. And so, sometimes when we're in that mode of taking action to complete our goals, what's appropriate is to stop, collaborate, and listen, right? What's appropriate is to sit back and make sure everything is going good. Or maybe something goes a little bit awry and we realize we need to sit back and rethink our plan, talk it over with somebody and maybe come up with a new way to move forward before we just push forward. Okay, so what we're calling in is a little bit of, patience, maybe a little bit of hesitation, just knowing that we need more information in order to move forward. And then what's going out? That Queen of Cups again, but this time she came out in reverse, friends. Because yesterday that was about, or was it yesterday or the day before, that was about the mystery, like releasing the mystery of knowing what your intuition is telling you, like being open to hearing it. On the in the inverse here, though, the Queen is a very intuitive figure, and the Queen is a person who, sort of part of her glamour and part of her, for lack of a better word, control that she has with people is it's due to her strong emotionality and her ability and willingness to cause movement, to cause change, her ability and willingness to use her emotion, her intuition, and maybe just sort of unseen, subtle ways to affect situations, to move people to act in certain ways, or to move people away or to move people just in a direction that they'd like to see them go, okay? And sometimes this behavior comes across, to be honest, as underhanded or manipulative. And in a lot of cases, especially if it's sort of, like I know what I want from this situation and I can see that having a conversation with this person is not going to make it happen. So I'm just going to, drop subtle hints or cause something to happen that makes that person, feel the way I want them to feel so that they will make the choice I want them to make. So we got to be careful when we have that power, right? And I think everybody has that power and that tendency a little bit from time to time, and we use it in different ways. But some of us really are in touch with that deep power, that deep knowing that if I take this action, then I can elicit a response from somebody that is to my liking. And, without ever having to be direct with them about what I want from the situation. We want to be really aware of that. We want to be very careful of using that power, because often that power does not really get used for good. Often that power is not really being used in an honest way, okay? And sometimes we're using that power, sometimes we're using that power as a means of getting what we want without having to be honest, without having to say what we want, without having to speak up for ourselves. Rather than speak up for ourselves, we sort of dig into our well of emotion and intuition, to elicit a response from somebody else that is to our liking. And that person, when they realize, because people are not stupid, okay, when they realize that they have been manipulated and that you were not completely honest with them. And listen, this has been me, and sometimes it is some of you as well, okay? When they realize that I have, done something to elicit that emotional response from them so they would make a choice without me having to tell them what I wanted and be honest about what I wanted, people feel manipulated. They feel lied to. They don't feel as though they're in an honest or healthy relationship with you, okay? So we want to be aware of that tendency, and that doesn't mean that we can't use that power, but it does mean we have to be determined, very, very determined to use that power for good. So what we're letting go is that like pretense that we have with ourselves that we're not manipulating a situation by simply, moving things in a subtle way to our liking, okay? That we have to know that we set out loud what our intentions are before we start, making our power moves, okay? So, wow, that's some deep shit, friends. and I'm sorry to lay that on you this morning, but it is something to be aware of. It's something to think about, how you're using that power, and it's something to sort of release from your life if you've noticed in yourself a tendency to manipulate circumstances to your benefit without ever having to tell anybody what it is that you want. That's something I'm working on in my life as well. And I think it's going to be very important in the coming years. Let's come back to that Pluto in Aquarius. The sun is in Aquarius. We want to be the rising tide that lifts all boats, right? We don't want to be the deep subtext or the deep waters that suck people under and sort of spit them out in the direction we want them to go, all right? We don't want to be tricky waters. We want to be peaceful, still supportive waters, all right? And by waters, I mean emotions and intuition and the behavior that we do to elicit emotional responses and intuitive responses from other people. All right. So calling in a little pause to rethink how we're taking action on something. And that's appropriate. I saw coming up in the deck in astrology, there will be this Mars square Chiron where it's sort of like, yeah, the actions I'm taking are not working to solve the problems I'm trying to solve. So we need to take a little break, a little step back and rethink, because then Mercury makes the same aspect. We need to take a little step back and rethink the approach that we're taking to the problems we are trying to solve, and release the technique of solving problems that is the most sort of subtle, underhanded, and not you being your clear, honest, authentic self. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. I think that's all I have to say about it. Aren't you glad? I know I am. I think that's all I have to say about it today, friends. And I do really appreciate you for being here, and I'll catch you all in the next video.